This is Don't Panic, episode number 379, recorded January 29th, 2024. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Don't Panic, the technology podcast on gadgets, the internet, and of course you. I'm Sean Jennings, joined by two guys who are actually here. It's Colby Rabideau and Dan Miller. They made it.
Finally.
Reunited.
It's good to be back.
Absolutely. Good to have you back. What's good, gentlemen?
Came back from Australia. We can talk about Australia. We can talk about one of the many things that happened when I got back was my internet router finally died. My beloved Ubiquiti Dream Machine.
Oh, the dream is dead.
The dream is no longer alive. Yeah.
Your
talk about that.
Your Ubiquiti experience was better than mine, which was dead on arrival.
Yeah. You had, I don't know what happened with you. We can talk about my quest for a new pair of headphones. We can talk about, and that's all that's been happening with me. What's been happening with you, Sean?
With me?
Yes.
In the
What
month
have
and
I
a
been
half since
missing
I
out
last
on?
saw you. Gosh, you know my life is action packed. No, what is?
It was action packed. You were shucking and jiving with all the bigwigs and the
Yes, the well-to-dos,
kissing babies. Yeah,
shaking babies, kissing hands. I was at the I was at my company sales meeting all last week, which I run. So I was constantly walking miles around the hotel, attending to things. But you guys will love. I think I have a picture I can share of my tech setup. So over the years, I've grown and created this like real-time streaming rig setup.
Is this like in-person streaming where you're walking around with like the selfie stick interviewing everybody there?
Well, listen, so I got two mixers, one only video, one video and audio. I got a standalone video recorder unit that feeds out to a live stream over Microsoft Teams. I have a wireless camera that's roving. I have 3 computers set up, all running simultaneously that I'm mixing between, doing the in-room audio and projectors, plus all the streaming and recording stuff.
Wow.
It's fantastic. It's my favorite day of the year.
How is the camera roving?
Yeah, it was a ton of fun this year.
Do you have one of those
So I actually bought a little. I should have gone with the iPads on the sticks. That would have been great. That you can drive around. No, it's just a wireless HDMI, basically, that transmits over 5G and 2.4G. You can get some pretty good distance with it. Did not travel the whole length of the hotel. That's my upgrade for next year, as I got to figure out how to make it truly wireless, probably over the internet. But it was a lot of. I was mixing the video live, so it'd be like the slide, and the picture would be in the corner, and then it would be picture in picture, and it would mix, and it was. Everything I've learned doing this podcast and other things was put to work. And people ask me, like, how do you know how to do this? And I'm like, I just guess, and I'm right more often than I'm not.
Right.
So
the real secret to computers. Like, try it.
Well, it's funny because our company's president, I went into the bathroom at our final event, and he was in there, and he goes, how's it going, Sean? I go, good. He goes, how's good job with the AV there. How much you save us for you doing it? What, you save us 10 grand? I go, no, I saved you 20 grand. Good job. Good job. He says to me. He's a very sweet old man.
I didn't think about that. Yeah, and those I've learned from Super Smash Bros. Tournaments that those folks are a union. So there's all sorts of rules and regulations.
Shit. Sean's a scab.
If I could...
You heard it here first.
Keep it on the DL. No, come on. Don't blow up my spot. No, listen, if I could have a second career, I would love to be the guys who just like rent out the huge screens and do the big productions with the lasers. You can rent a confetti cannon very reasonably. I just could not subject the hotel cleaning staff to the aftermath. That's not there. So
yes.
That's the only reason I haven't done it.
You need the self-cleaning confetti cannon where it like after it goes off, it like sucks all the confetti back in instantly.
Right.
Well,
Each
that's
piece of confetti is just on a string, and it just like slurps back in when it's done.
I like that. That's a good idea, actually. No, because I rent like 30 to 40% of the equipment for the event because just the price is so much better if you just get it for the week. And maybe I can rent some Roombas. Rent like 5 Roombas and just turn them loose on the in the ballroom.
All making horrific noise as they vacuum.
Just bouncing off of people's ankles. I like that. Add some excitement.
I think next year you should try to get the roaming iPad robot thing, and then turn your the employees who aren't there loose on it, and they can control where it goes.
I am actually going to write that down. I do think that's a very fun idea because I do want to just keep like as over the top as I can make this. I want to blow it up. So it'll be fun. So no, that was my week last week. No show for that reason. But I was at Colby. I know you've been doing so many exciting things. Tell me about what you've got going on.
I don't know that I have been doing that many exciting things, Sean. I've been talking to banks about loans for trying to build a house. That's a thing. Mostly they say you're way too early. Don't talk to us till like a month before, which is even more stressful.
That's scary.
That is not the answer you want.
Now, is that like pre or post deposits?
Post deposits with the builder, at least. If that
so
makes
if they
sense.
so if you do what they say, but then they decline the loan, then you're going to be out the deposit money. That doesn't seem right.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. But there's no like so they with loans for like building. There's like a time limit. So it's like once they give you the loan, the project has to be done in 12 months or something. So you can't just do it now and like, twiddle your thumbs waiting for them to start. You have to do it like right before they start. And then there's a whole bunch of like, the bank is going to send an appraiser to appraise the land and the project and whatnot. And they're going to decide how much money they will give you at that moment. Not like, they can't tell you ahead of time. It's just like at that moment. So
they just give it to you as you need it, not in a big lump sum. And they probably have a project guy who comes out and checks it as it gets built. And
exactly. There are like stages and like they don't pay until stuff is done. So they'll be like, one stage will be like, you put in the foundation and like do the driveway or whatever. And then like they'll send the guy out to check that it's done and then they'll pay. And then, there's a subsequent stage. So a lot of moving parts, it seems. But,
now have you thought about
going with it?
Have you thought about, because I believe you can do this, buying a house that's somewhere else, but then putting it on your land? That might be easier. I'm just saying it's an option.
I didn't consider that, Sean, but maybe that's the move. Maybe I should just be looking for houses to relocate. Right.
Yeah, because they like jack it up and put it on a trailer and drive it to wherever you want. It's crazy.
Do you think there's a size limit on those?
All right, I'm going to Google how to move a house. And I know it's not going to be what I mean. Can you move an entire house?
Yes.
Here's how much it costs. How do you relocate factors you should consider? No. How much does it cost to move a house? Ultimately, well, it depends on how big the house is. Anywhere from $15,000 to $200,000 based on this. It's about $14 per square foot.
That cost. I mean, that's less than building a new house. If you have the house already.
Now I'm going to look up weird houses for sale. Find the wackiest house we can buy you and do the math and see if it makes more sense. Yeah.
Well, speaking of weird houses for sale, supposedly the half burned down $5.5 million house is under contract. That's the word on the streets.
Wow.
So we'll have to see how much someone bought it for.
Maybe I can move that house.
Do you guys think they could move a whole winery?
If you had enough round trips, sure.
Colby, I think there's a winery for sale.
Where?
With a private vineyard. This would be in Oregon.
Right down the road.
You know, so reasonable. The Rogue River Winery, though, won't be on the Rogue River anymore, so you can call it whatever you want. I'm just saying.
Wow.
Or get a houseboat. I mean, that would be really easy to relocate.
Very movable. Super portable. I mean, if this doesn't work out, I could just get like a mobile home, an immobile mobile home. That would be fine, honestly.
You can buy a dam.
Damn.
Like a dam, like one that holds back water. You can just buy one. I love specialfinds.com.
What do they do with the water when you move the dam?
I don't think they considered that. That might not be an option to move, I gotta be honest. An underground prepper bunker.
That would be tough.
Wow.
Comes pre-built. They won't even tell you the address.
Makes sense.
Anyway, I'm getting distracted. Where were we?
Former chapel on the bay. Wow. I don't remember. We were talking about what's new in my life, which is mostly talking to banks. Yeah. But, you know, it's going. No one has outright said no yet, so I guess there's that. So the thing they did suggest that you do is do a mortgage pre-approval for about the amount of money. And I was trying to remember how much that affects your credit score, if at all. Do you remember the answer to this question?
It affects it.
Yeah.
I don't remember being like, oh my God. It was just,
it was there.
You know, like, oh, your score went down by a little bit. That's what I remember.
Nice. You can do more than one, right? It's not a big deal.
That I don't remember. I mean, I don't know. I have no idea. I think we only did the one because I think we shopped around and then we decided about the bank we were going with, and then we only did the one.
Nice. Well,
good question. Well,
that's my next task.
I guess Colby and I have so much going on. Dan, I know you've been pretty quiet, but do you have anything maybe you could talk about?
Yeah, we can talk about Australia. I think that the tech angle is that well, it's funny traveling now, but this was also true when I went to Iceland recently, but cash is just pointless. So there's none of this, you don't have to do so many of the things you had to do 5 years ago. You don't have to tell your bank that you're traveling. You don't have to go to the place and exchange currency. You just kind of show up. Including at the Australian border, going to Australia, and this sounds really nice. You get off the plane, you walk through the duty-free area, you dodge all the Tim Tam aisles and everything, and you're like, okay, where is the giant line I get into that's going to be like Australia, and then it'll be like everybody else over here. But instead, you enter this Grand Central Station huge hallway that is filled with these kiosks, kind of like where they do the bag checks now. And you walk up and you slap your passport down on the thing, and it prints out a thing, and then you go up to this huge, series of gates like at a mega subway station, and you tap that piece of paper down on the camera. It takes a photo of your face, and then you're through. You could walk straight out onto the street at that point, which was pretty cool.
Wow.
But otherwise, the internet in Australia it felt broken. It felt like my internet something was always wrong with my computer. Unless you're using Google or Facebook or a big company internet thing, everything else was clearly not designed to have, it was all running in the US, and it was clearly not designed to have different network calls take that long. Plus not, and that is, I think that's one part of it. And also you look at, I'm gonna get residential internet in Australia, and it's so much worse than even the US, which is already pretty bad. Getting gigabit internet is oh my God, that's so rare. And that's cable internet. It's mostly DSL-y, not that bad, but like 20 megabits down is about as good as you can get.
Damn.
Which was shocking. So yeah, that was very eye-opening.
So did you find that they use the internet like less or less
No.
often?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I'm sure part of it is that people in Australia are probably using Australian websites more. And the big websites, like how many people are like, because I had to work from Australia for a week because I was sick with COVID. And so I'm trying to do like programming stuff. And I'm going on all those websites and I'm trying to upload stuff to the United States. And I'm sure most people don't have that experience. But the other thing I was thinking about was I was in New Zealand like 14 years ago. And I remember being like, wow, the internet is slow, but I don't remember it being as bad. And I think that's because there were fewer websites where it's like the stupid Washington State Ferry website where you click on the drop down and then it does an AJAX request to get the values for the drop down. And then you select the item and then does an AJAX request to tell the server that you selected the item. That was not a thing 15 years ago. You loaded the page, maybe there's a little bit of JavaScript, unless you're Gmail, right? Now that's every website. Right. So I think even though the internet has improved in Australia, I think the net effect is actually still is worse even than it was in like 2009.
Now,
So,
were there any specific Australian websites or apps that you experienced while you were there?
No, I don't think so, because I could Apple Pay at the train and at the metro, so I didn't need to download an app for that. And on the bus, I guess I used the Qantas app for the airline. That was pretty good, but all airline apps are pretty much the same. Thankfully, I was reflecting on this, before we had Apple Wallet and stuff, how you'd used to be able to, how you used to have to get on a plane. And now all of the airlines have apps that pretty much have the same functionality, which is genuinely shocking. And it happened pretty quickly. I don't know what possessed them to be so user focused in that way. Qantas app was fine. No, I don't think I used any Australian apps.
Which, by the way, not to pivot, but because you brought it up, I don't think we talked about this on the show. I finally, in the year when I had to go to Chicago in November, whenever that was the first time I flew end to end exclusively using the mobile app and not printing a ticket ever in my life. And it was fine. It was fine. It felt, there's just something about like placing your phone on the glass that just, I don't know.
Have a case.
Yeah, and it's like, but then
I always
honestly,
like to
I feel
get a
like
ticket because I like to put my bag tag on the ticket. You stick the little sticker on there. I guess you could.
Well, and I don't want to say I'm an anxious guy in line, but I like to like keep looking at my ticket, and I'd have to like unlock my phone each time, so the paper was helpful. But what I find is that I think the attendants like at the gates, they are now better at taking mobile. Like they feel surprised and don't do as well getting like the paper ticket doesn't scan as well, and they like don't know what to do with it almost. Same with security. When I hand them a paper ticket at the TSA line, they seem confused. So I think I've kind of been aged out of the system.
Yeah, so that was Australia. Fun fact, if you're going to go to Australia, and I felt stupid doing this, even if you're American, you do need a visa, which I did not have when I went to check into my flight 24 hours before it was departing. But then they were like, oh, just apply online. It's instant. So I, like, as fast as I could, went to the website and filled out the form. And I waited like 5 minutes. And I'm like, uh-oh. Like, I haven't gotten any email. and I was like, you know what? It's definitely one of those situations where 1 out of every, like, 1,000 of these has to get manually reviewed by some human. And then I, like, check the time. And I'm like, and it's 6:30 p.m. in Australia. So there's no chance. And it's Friday. There's no chance that like I'm just totally screwed. But then 4 hours later, somehow I got an email with my visa. There is no email. It's just like when you boop your your passport. It just knows. So yeah, don't make that mistake.
Good.
Yeah.
I guess I've never had to apply for a visa at any of the places.
Yes, I know, and I felt like such like the stupid entitled American. I was like, "Oh, I'm American. I don't need to apply for visas."
Wow.
It never even occurred to me to like check.
No,
I was checking all sorts of things. Oh, what's the weather going to be like? What kind of outlets do they have there? It never occurred to me to check if I need a visa. And plus, like people from Australia can show up in America and just get a job. Like they have like special visas for that, but we can't even just visit Australia without a visa. It was very surprising.
Standard.
Yeah,
that's
and I need a new pair of headphones.
Mm.
And
Good.
so,
Let's spend some of your money.
yes, well, not too much of it. And so I was like, you know what I should do? Because in the past, I've just gone on Wirecutter or whatever. I've seen someone's like post a review on Twitter, RIP, and then I just buy that headphone and it's fine. And the most recent, I sort of started with, so $30 headphones you could get on probably Newegg at the time. And then I got the Sony ones that Colby has. Those are better. Oh, how do I turn? I thought I turned that off. Oh, I guess it's per app. All right, there we go.
Per app.
Stupid reactions thing. And then I got these B&O headphones that were like $200, $300. They were expensive, but really they sounded really good and they're super comfortable. And all these are just plain old headphones, wired headphones, no noise canceling. So when these dead headphones that are basically the headband's totally snapped, I was like, I'm just going to get those again. And I went on to B&O's website and they exclusively make wireless noise canceling headphones. They do not have either wired or non-noise canceling headphones. So then I was like, well, this is like a pretty personal thing. Yeah, people like different headphones. I shouldn't just go online, read some reviews and buy headphones. I should try headphones. So I found a headphone store in Seattle, and I didn't know this, but they were like moving. So they're having a moving sale, and I show up and they have 4 pairs of headphones. And I should have noticed that at the time. And they had like a cool setup. They had this huge box with amps, which is the thing I still don't understand why you need. And this like special box that had all sorts of music on it. So you could plug the headphones in and you could play whatever you wanted to and listen to it. And I should have noticed that none of the headphones had any prices on them. And so I listened to these 4 headphones and then I'm like, oh, okay. Like that, I took note of the model numbers. There was one I liked, but I only got to try 4. So I was like, well, I'm going to leave. And so I'm leaving. And the guy's like, so what'd you think? I was like, oh, it was great. And I really like that one on the right. It sounded really good. He's like, oh, that's the best deal in the store. Normally that's $2,000, but we're selling it for $999. And I was like,
No brainer. No brainer.
Okay.
Done.
I was like, well, at least I know I have good taste. I did correctly identify the most expensive pair of headphones they had. Although I later looked up all of the model numbers, all of them with discount were over $500. So when 50% discount. So
yeah, but Dan, I hear you now have a visa. So
to Australia. Yeah.
Oh, oops. Okay. Wrong visa.
So I did not buy those headphones. But it was fun. I want to go try more headphones. There are these stores scattered around. There's one other one in the area, and then there's sort of a world-class one in Vancouver, which would be fun to go to. It's like people come from all over the world to go to this headphone store in Vancouver. So I want to try them out. But if you all have recommendations of headphones, Sean, it sounded like you had some strong opinions before we started recording.
Well, but I don't. So maybe the single greatest thing about having an office is that I can take my calls on speaker. I just don't like wearing headphones all the time.
Yeah.
So at work, I pretty much take all my calls on speaker. And I don't like over-the-ear headphones because they make my ears sweat and I don't find them comfortable to wear for long periods of time. So I'm kind of not the guy to ask. I would say if you want just like plain wired headphones, studio style headphones are going to be the way to go. Sort of like what Colby's wearing, and ones that are used for music monitoring where they don't want wireless and they don't want noise canceling.
So here's the thing: is something I've learned about myself is I don't like the Bose and what's the other one that Apple bought? Beats style. I don't like their take on what sounds should sound like. You know how like an Apple like photos taken on iPhones look different than Samsung photos? It's sort of similar, right? Like Bose and Beats are the Samsung cameras of sound, where it's like pow, wow, wowie zowie. But then I've noticed the monitoring headphones are like very even. It's like clinical, like grade evenness, which isn't super fun to listen to. And so I found that I do like something in between. Unfortunately, because the studio headphones are plentiful and cheap.
Well, and you're using it for voice and music, which is tough.
Yes, but like voice, who cares? Voice is not like a very sonically interesting thing, right?
Well, yeah, but it's more like the studio style, for example, are going to give you good voice and mediocre music, and I feel like you go the Beats, and they're gonna mess with the music, and you don't. So I don't know that it's you're kind of looking for something that can really is a good sounding jack of all trades.
Yeah. I would say under $400. How about that?
So do you have any leads?
Let's see. I have some saved tabs here. There's the Sennheiser. Let me make, because these reviews also don't say the price. Sennheiser HD 560. That's only $200. The AKG K371. All of these headphones, by the way, have just really tough model numbers. So those seem to be a bit, and again, you're just reading reviews of people writing about what things sound like. Bayer Dynamic DT770 Pro.
You just got to buy them from somewhere with a good return policy, basically.
Yeah,
and just try them out.
That's why I thought if I could just spend 4 hours and drive somewhere and try a bunch of them, then I would save myself a bunch of time, and then I would get headphones. That's what I want. But I also think you're good point.
But you want to? I mean, how many hours a day are you wearing these headphones?
Like 6 hours a day sometimes.
Yeah, I don't think you're ever going to really find if you like them until you actually wear them for 6 hours a day for several days. Point. And if you're spending money, because listen
now, Sean,
returning
maybe you know the answer to this.
Yes.
The like headphones have different ohm ratings. Do you understand? And I understand that like the higher the number, you more likely you'll need an amp. But why would you want to need an amp? Do you know?
So, first of all, I will say for you guys, I'm having some network instability in the house. So if I'm a little off, you're probably noticing. I know I have absolutely no idea what any of that means.
Okay.
Not a clue. I'm not a sound guy. I'm not a sound guy. Like I said, I just use the AirPods because they're convenient and they fit in my ear.
You got a mixer. You must have got some
XLR
cables in there, I'm sure.
Those you just plug in. The microphones were buzzing and stuff. Like, I'm not an audio guy. Not a good example.
Well, I will keep you informed.
Yes, please do.
Fascinating. Now, Dan, I think you were the person who first introduced me to the concept of open ear headphones. Do you still have your open ear headphones?
I do have those somewhere. Those were cool. They were not that expensive. Open back headphones is the term. The problem is the ones I got are extremely not comfortable. And I went to another headphone store this weekend, or it wasn't a headphone store. This was actually an even crazier place. It was a stereo store. And they had a teeny tiny headphone section. But they also had like the world's most incredible cassette, like, I don't know what you call it, switcher, where it was like this huge deck you'd have in your entertainment center, and you could put multiple cassettes in it, and it would automatically change between them, like the CD-ROM ones, but way more mechanically complicated, and like a bajillion speakers, but only a teeny tiny set of headphones, and almost all of them were those Grado headphones, which people think sound really good. I agree that they sound really good. I should find mine, but the problem is that they are open back, which means that people can hear what you're listening to, which isn't that big of a problem now that I don't work in an office. But I think it would be a problem with the microphone, is my guess. But I don't know. Maybe the technology has advanced to the point where, all the Google and Zoom over the past 4 years have just like optimized their technology for people taking calls on a Dell laptop in the middle of their kitchen, and so the fact there's a little bit of sound leaking out doesn't matter. That could be it's probably true, but that's why I've been trying not to do the open back ones, which is a bit of a saving grace because those are even more expensive typically. So I'm at least saving some money there. But I should try to find those old headphones because I could test out whether the open backness does cause feedback on the mic. That's a good idea.
That is a good idea.
I forgot that I kind of had that.
Yeah. I have a pair like that. It's not the same kind as yours, but they're open back ones that I like to use for... I like, when I'm at home, sometimes I like that I can hear around me. I don't use them for calls or this because probably for the same reason, because I felt some uncertainty about whether or not it would be a problem. It seems like it would be, but I like to use them like if I'm playing, Baldur's Gate or whatever. I think that's a nice experience.
Baldur's Gate.
Mm-hmm. The gate.
I don't want to tell you how many hours it is that I played that game so far. I think it's about 200. It's
Where do you find all those hours, Dan? That's so many.
I had a lot of hours in December. I had at least 28 hours of airplane rides, which I spent mostly playing Baldur's Gate.
How did you play Baldur's Gate on an airplane?
Well, it runs on a Mac, so if you buy it on Steam, you can run it on your Mac laptop. It also runs on the Steam Deck.
Oh, hot damn. That's
pretty cool.
Well, that's good to know.
Did I tell you I bought my first... I bought my first real video game not too long ago.
Dream Daddy?
No.
My first AAA title I've ever bought.
What was it?
Yeah.
Madden, so not the most original game in the world. However, in classic Sean's a huge moron fashion, I all excited. It was on sale because I won't pay the full price. It was on sale, so I'm going to buy it. I click buy it now. I buy it. Not compatible with Mac. Ooh, no, and I don't own any other. And it does not work on Windows emulation. Yeah.
Damn.
So that was money well spent.
That stinks. Did you get it on Steam?
Max ruined my life. I did get it on Steam, yeah.
Do you think they would give you a refund if you ask? Like, hey...
They do within a certain time period that I was not fast enough to... Because I thought of... Why would they allow me to buy it? They know I'm on a Mac right now. You would think they'd have some kind of, warning. Only available for Windows. Yeah, just literally anything. And like I said, I tried to run it on Parallels, and it wouldn't authenticate. So, huge bust. I'm never playing a video game again. I'm done.
And this is the most recent Madden.
Yeah, it's the new one. Because again, I'm not a big video game guy.
Yeah.
But I said, oh, it looks fun. It's football. It was on sale. I said, all right, this is pretty cool. And for some reason, they don't support Mac.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think. Is there a company that will do NVIDIA GeForce Now, but you can play your Steam library and it just downloads the game or something? I don't know.
Probably.
I don't think so.
But that's when I say, time out. enough's enough. I don't need to play it that badly. Like it was bad
Foul
enough
on the field or whatever it is.
Yeah, I tried to download EA Play and all this other crap to make it work.
Yeah.
And I said it's not worth it. I'll just go buy an Xbox at that point if I really want
buy the
to.
game again. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
And then my other tech thing that happened was I got back from Australia, and then what was the first thing? Oh, the internet went in and out. And I would get like notifications from the Ubiquity thing, like, oh, your XY dingus is offline. Oh, your XY dingus is online. And then I would ping from my computer, and it would be like to the internet. It'd be like good, bad, good, bad. And then I would ping from my computer to the router. It would say good 10,000 times in a row. And so I was like, well, that's pretty definitive. So I tried like factory resetting the router, same exact behavior. I was like, well, I don't know what's wrong, but that's it. So then I was like, well, this is fine because for the ISP we have here, they give you for free a router with your internet. They don't charge you an additional monthly fee. So I still had it. So I plugged it in and like, well, while I'm getting the replacement, this will do. And this computer is working fine. The Mac is working fine. I turned the Windows computer on. Absolutely nothing. No, it's directly plugged into the Ethernet on the back. Nothing. Zero. And if I restarted the computer, it would like go online briefly and I could get to the router only, but nothing else. And then even that would stop working. So it was just totally bonkers. And so then I had to wait for like a week for the replacement to come. But now I'm living the full nerd network lifestyle where I don't have a Wi-Fi router. I have a router, and then I have the Wi-Fi access point like in the office, and they are separate things. And then I have the computer that manages the Ubiquity stuff, and that's a separate thing. So there are 3 independent thingies, each of which can now be upgraded or replaced in isolation without having to replace the whole thing. That's what I'm telling myself. To convince myself this was a good idea.
I'm just like shaking my head. I love overdoing of things, so more power to you, Dan.
Sean, I thought you said you were running out of like IP addresses on your network and stuff. You should get into this lifestyle.
We did talk about this while you were gone. And I'll very briefly recap, but basically I called Xfinity because they bumped up my price, so I tried to negotiate them down. They did. But they're like, oh, we'll just throw on for no additional fee internet speeds up to 1,200 megabits. So I'm like, that's great. I love it. They do me the upgrade, and then I realized I've never had more than like 200 in the whole time I've lived here, and I was supposed to be getting like 600 or 800. So I'm like, wait, this isn't. So I bought a new modem. Mine was like 5 years old, DOCSIS 3.1, so should be screaming. Plug that thing in, I get like 300. My up goes up to like 50, which is good, but it's like 300. I'm like, this isn't good. So now my next thing is I bought another mesh router access mesh network point to try and relieve some of the load because I do have 40 network devices in my home. So to try and spread it out a little bit more. But I'm annoyed. I got to call. I think it's I think it's the cable in my house is the problem, like the physical cables. I think there's an issue with it.
Like the thing that plugs into the modem?
Yeah, somewhere from the street to my modem, there's a bad connection or a bad cable somewhere in the walls that they're just not going to be able to fix because I can't figure out any other reason that I'm aware of why it wouldn't be working. But that's on my list to follow up with. I mean, not that 300 is bad, but it's not
what you're paying for.
1,200 would be better.
Bigger numbers,
well, that's
better.
my next. So if they can't fix it, then I'm going to call and downgrade and be like, I want the 300 plan. It's like I feel like I don't need all this if I can't use it.
Right. Yeah.
You should get reimbursed.
Yeah, I'm sure Xfinity will definitely do that. They're very reasonable.
They're known for. Yeah. Xfinity.
So should we talk about one tech news story?
Is there anything that's got you excited or riveted here? I was so busy last week. I wasn't really.
Oh man, there's so many things that have happened. At least since I've been gone.
Inform me, Dan. What's hot?
I think the hottest thing right now is definitely the Apple European App Store rule change. Have you been up on this?
No, tell me about this.
This is very complicated, but my understanding is that there was some law that the EU passed, and as a result of that law, I don't remember exactly what the law is, but as a result of that law, Apple feels like they needed to offer new terms of service for app developers. And the new terms of service are only if you are in the EU. There's a bunch of changes, but the one that people are sort of like upset about is you can continue to use the App Store as it is today. 30% of all transactions. If your app is free, you pay nothing. And you also get nothing. Or you can opt in to the new terms. As soon as you opt in, you can never go back. The new terms are you can use the App Store if you want. If you use the App Store, it's 30%. If you can also not use the App Store. If you don't use the App Store, it's 27%. And if you don't use the App Store, every week you need to send to Apple a list of all the people and all the people and all the transactions that occurred, and include with that your sort of the commission that Apple gets. And at any moment, Apple could ask you we're going to do an audit. So they have audit privileges of your business. But also, if you opt into the new terms, once your app reaches 1 million downloads, for each download thereafter, so it's kind of I forget what that tax style is. It's kind of like whatever that tax thing is. For each download after 1 million downloads, you owe Apple 5 cents per download. Regardless of if you are distributing your app in the App Store or via some other mechanism. Which means that what I have read from the commentariats is that this means that the people who most want to distribute their apps outside of the App Store, which are big companies who have lots of users, are totally screwed by this because most of them don't charge for their apps anyways. They're free, but because they're free, they have tons of users. And so if Instagram were distributed in the EU outside the App Store, they would go from owing Apple $0 to whatever 5 cents times the number of Instagram users in the EU minus 1 million is, which is lots of millions.
Hundreds of millions. That's
hundreds
wild.
Of millions. Yeah. So them's the breaks, as Boris Johnson would say. That's my understanding. And there's other changes too with regards to what was the other change? I forget. There was some other whole suite of changes that with regards to this. It's interesting. People are debating as to whether or not this actually sort of is a good, a compliance with the actual law, and then the EU, if they decide it isn't compliant, they could start fining Apple. It was 25% of your annual revenue per month, or something crazy like that. Those were the terms of the agreement.
And so if you're yeah, go ahead.
This is the antitrust thing or something, right?
I think so, yeah.
So the thing you can do now that you couldn't do before is technically you could distribute your app not in the App Store. And that is possible now.
Yes, and actually, I forgot. You can distribute your app via an app marketplace, which is an app that you can download from the internet, but you cannot download non-app marketplace apps from the internet, which is also clever because those app marketplace apps are liable for any content distributed via the app marketplace and not Apple. So if you are distributing copyrighted materials or making those copyrighted materials available via apps that you're distributing through your app marketplace, then that company also, in order to get these sort of permission to distribute an app marketplace app, you have to show like you have to basically get a mortgage pre-approval of like $1 million and be like, a bank would loan us $1 million. And that's one of the criteria for getting this like entitlement in your little code build, which is kind of crazy.
Wow.
And another thing is, and this also only applies in the EU now, because like a thing for a long time was that some people are upset that on iOS and iPad OS and everything, you can only run Safari, and even Chrome for iOS is really just, we're a wrapper around Safari that gives you your Chrome bookmarks and passwords. So now in iOS, if you're in Europe, you could develop your own browser engine, but your browser engine must look exactly like Safari. So there's like hundreds of interfaces that you must implement, all of which are like very Safari specific. So if you do that, then you can swap it out. But the funny thing is, I saw someone say this online, it's totally true, could port whatever browser they wanted to iOS. That would actually be the end of any sort of web browser diversity on the internet, because then everything would just become Chrome. The fact that iOS mandates Safari is actually the only thing preventing Google from having a monopoly on web browsers. And sure, some might argue they're doing it via an anti-competitive practice, though Google would argue you can get an Android if you want to run Chrome on your phone. So it's kind of funny that in that specific instance, I do believe that the thing that they are causing the thing that they want to prevent by if they were to force this rule to be implemented.
Wow.
Anyways, I think this is super interesting and not exactly what Apple wants people to be talking about the week before their hot new thing is coming out.
Yeah, I would also layer on top of that, in addition, they did announce they're allowing game streaming services.
That's right. That's global.
But that is global. And then they're also opening up the NFC chip for payments within the European Economic Area, which I have no idea what that means. But what the European Economic Area is.
I think that definitely means the UK is out. So
the European Economic Area. Oh, I think it's the EU plus Iceland, Liechtenstein, and Norway.
Oh, interesting.
Anywho, yeah, I mean, I agree. It is very interesting and very convoluted, and I guess the $1 million question is: the EU gonna let them do this? Will they strike back and say this isn't fair or right? I mean, I guess they got to let it maybe run for a little while and see how it goes.
I think they will eventually. I'm not a lawyer, but so I don't know if it complies with the letter of the law, but whether it happens a month from now because it doesn't comply with the letter of the law, or it happens 2 years from now because they pass new laws to make it even more strict, I think one of those two things is definitely going to happen.
Well, it goes live with iOS 17.4 in March. Are you guys can you think of a good use of a marketplace within iOS?
In theory, you could. There has been lots of precedent to, definitely the most popular. Well, I don't know about that. A popular marketplace app in the EU will be a marketplace app that packages and distributes open source emulators compiled for iOS with no games associated with them. Then you download the game, put it in your iCloud drive, and now you're playing Super Nintendo games on your iPhone. I think there's lots of legitimate uses for stuff like that. Because right now, I think if you, and maybe Colby, you know more about this, if you want to download some code from GitHub, compile it, and run it on your phone, you can do that. But you have to know, I have to install Xcode, and I got to run this thing, and I have to plug my phone in and press this button. But then there's also you have to keep you have to keep plugging your phone in every 2 days or something like that. Otherwise, the app becomes unusable. There's some restriction like that for like development apps. And so if this were relatively easy, then anyone doing stuff like that, like, oh, I'm downloading the open source VLC video player so I can play like whatever that MKV format stuff on my phone, and I can download it from this app marketplace that just goes on GitHub, and they've packaged up all the open source apps and you download them for free. But the tricky thing there is that all sounds great, but if someone downloads 1,000,001 of those apps, then suddenly that person owes Apple 5 cents.
Well, and the other thing is, would Apple approve that marketplace in the first place?
I don't think, as part of the terms, my understanding is that they don't have any oversight over, they can't make any determinations about the content that will be distributed on the app marketplace. But they're not allowed to restrict that. So what they are restricting instead is sort of the credit worthiness of the entity behind the app marketplace.
So I'm reading directly from The Verge's article on this. In order to be used on an iPhone, those marketplaces have to go through Apple's approval process. And once you download one, you have to explicitly give it permission to download apps to your device. But once the marketplace is approved and on your device, you can download anything you want, including apps that violate App Store guidelines. You can even set non-App Store marketplace as the default on your device.
So I'm dealing with this at work right now. What they're referring to, the approval process, is an automated approval process that a lot of Mac apps go through. So you can download an app from your Mac or an app to your Mac from the internet. Have you ever, maybe you haven't done this, Sean, but if you download an app have you ever downloaded an app from the internet and it's like, hey, this is from an unidentified developer?
Yeah.
But sometimes it doesn't say that. And so when it doesn't say that, that means that app has been literally sent to Apple. They took that DMG, they sent it to Apple, and Apple ran an automated process over it that approved it. And then it like got cryptographically signed. And that's the exact same process that they use for these marketplace apps. So the marketplace app can't be harmful. Like it can't like take over your phone and
but they're
pose
not
a security
approving
risk
it for
and
content
use
reasons.
Like improper APIs. But the apps that it is distributed via that thing, I think also maybe have to go through that process, I think. But Apple can't say like, oh, you're not allowed to have a phone app because that duplicates functionality, and you're not allowed to have an emulator app because we don't like that. We think that's too risky. They can't say that.
Fascinating.
Wild.
Fun time. So who's switching their iOS account to say that they live in Ireland? Take the virtually move to Ireland challenge.
Again, I'm like, because I'm in my head thinking of like reasons why I would need a marketplace app. And it's like to buy crap in Fortnite, no. To download emulators, no. If someone comes up with a good idea for why I need a marketplace app,
you could probably play PS2 Madden on your phone if you downloaded a PS2 emulator.
I don't want to play games on my phone. God bless. iPad maybe. Maybe. But yeah, but then when you start talking about things like alternate browsers, like I'm just trying to figure out maybe, I don't know. I'm excited to see what comes of this, because I remember back in the day the sort of what was it called, the when you would crack your iPhone?
Jailbreak?
Yeah, but there was the specific software that you would install.
I don't remember.
Because I did it.
Ooh.
I had an what was it? An iPod Touch back in the day that I used to do it on, and oh man, I'm gonna be really bummed that I can't think of the name of this. Dang, I'm gonna think about it. But anyway, I used to do it back when like apps were Cydia. That was the one I was thinking of. That was the original one way back in the day, Cydia, where you could download all kinds of crazy stuff way back. Good times.
iPod Touches.
Yeah, man, the iPod Touch. I had an iPod Touch before I had an iPhone. That thing was dope.
So light. Yeah.
It was great. The only thing it didn't have a camera in it back in those days.
Oh yeah, it had like a little plastic spot for it. I remember that.
Yeah, it was just great because you could use all the apps when apps came out, and that's why it was because Cydia I think was doing apps before apps were even officially available. And so you could use that for stuff, and then obviously the browser and watch videos and listen to music. It was cool. Well, good, Dan. Glad you brought that story to the forefront. We'll have to keep an eye on that one and come up with maybe a Don't Panic marketplace. I don't know what we put in it. Fruits and vegetables.
But again, there's no reason to do it because I think the number one use case for an app marketplace is distributing free apps that Apple doesn't want to or makes it onerous to distribute. But you can't do that because if 1 million or more people download it, you are financially liable.
Well, but I will say Apple has
if it's
been
free,
trying to
you have no
silence
control
the Don't
over
Panic
that.
show.
So you can never guarantee that you won't hit 1 million. I guess, yeah, actually, I don't know. Could you make an app marketplace app that requires login or sort of sign up? I don't know. Interesting.
Well, Dan's working on loopholes to get around these new EU laws. We're going to start cruising towards the exit here as we hit the top of the hour. Gentlemen, great show as always. I do have to tease. They're looking around like my internet's not working.
No, it's
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
we can.
Okay, it's slowly coming back. That's the great thing about Riverside is it just keeps recording because it's recording locally. So I'm just going to keep going.
This episode brought to you by Riverside.
Listen, we're a proud partner that we don't get any compensation for saying that. Up for debate. Guys, the Super Bowl is coming up. And now Colby's just gone. Maybe Colby's been the problem. Is Dan there?
I'm here, yeah.
Oh, okay. This is very strange. No, now he's back. I'm gonna get through this plug eventually. God damn it!
I clicked the wrong button. I thought the other window was focused, and I hit Command W, and it said, "Are you sure you want to leave?" I was like, "Of course I want to leave." I didn't want to leave. I'm sorry.
This is what happens when we don't do this for a month and a half. Guys, I got to get this plug out. Up for debate Super Bowl. It's our biggest episodes of the year. We got prop bets coming up. We'll be recording them the week after next. We got the Chiefs. We got the 49ers. It's going to be a blast. Don't miss it. And Dan, this is you saw the announcement. The Movie League is back, baby. Get excited. Those expectations, we're going to talk about it after the Movie League is back. It's going to be a ton of fun. You don't want to miss it. Over at UpForDebate.tv, wherever you get podcasts, look for Up for Debate. Of course, our show is Don't Panic at don'tpanic.io, our fantastic website. The audio and the video are both there. Make sure you subscribe wherever you get podcasts. Just look for Don't Panic. We're probably there with the video version on YouTube. And of course, you can get a hold of us. don'tpanicshow@gmail.com is the email address. But we're going to stick a fork in it here. So on behalf of Colby and Dan, I'm Sean. Thanks for being here. We're going to see you next time for another great edition of Don't Panic.